عالصعيد يا طرت طيارة وفوق العريشي يما ويا ويلي من هاي العيشي عالصعيد يا وطارت طيارة وفوق العريشي يما ويا ويلي من هاي العيشي ولعيونك مالك وقف تفتيشي يلا جبعاوي ودقدق دلعونا صيدة ألف يا سعيد ألف مين أبو الشاهد وسعيد يلا سعيد 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 يا ابوي سعيد 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 يا ابوي كتفك على كتفه يا مدلل هيهب يعني عالصعيدي بس صعيدي بلا زمر بلا هبل الجفراوي يا هالرابع جفرا وجفراوية درب الخناجر ولا اضمني بالفيه الجفراوي يا هالرابع جفرا وجفراوية درب الخناجر ولا اضمني بالفيه الله يلا 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 الله العب يا اول يعني عالدبيشه ريح ريح يا اول ريح ابو العربي هل جينا عالبلد الدبشه واهل الدبشه جينا عالبلد جينا عالبلد بابو هالمزيد لابي في سند قول يا بالعربي قول وانا بحبكم يما للابد وابد جايد غنى لفنون بالعربي يلا عالصلاة وسع سعيد وسلنا غليلك يا ورد مفتح على جيبي نواد علي رغول يا كبير علي رغول المعزف سعيد وسلنا غليلك يا ورد مفتح على جيبي نواد على اليرغول ويلا نعطيلك حبيب الاول يحلى من عيونه يلا زمرك طال عمرك العب حركي العب يا نادر العب شوف الدبيش شوف اللي فتفت لا عظمه فتفت لا عظمه فتفت يلا روح يا اول روح يلا شمر شمالي العب ولعب اعلى كش يا كش حرك شوف الدبيش شوف يابا شوف يا ويلي اللي ما يصلي على الحبيب ادعس يا ابو عادل
A big thank you for the wonderful dance, Freedom Dabka group. Good afternoon and welcome everyone to the 8th National Immigrant Integration Conference, the flagship event of the National Partnership for New Americans. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you to our co-host, the New York Immigrant Coalition, yes, and to our fellow executive committee member, Make the Road New York. My name is Eva Malona, and I'm the co-chair of the National Partnership for New Americans and the executive director of Massachusetts Immigrant and Refugee Advocacy Coalition, and a proud naturalized citizen of this great country. It is my distinct honor to welcome each and every one of you on behalf of the National Partnership for New Americans. As many of you know, we are a national organization that brings the collective power of 37 largest immigrant organizations across the country in 31 states. Our members range from our great state of Massachusetts to California to Kansas to Florida and everywhere in between. Our vision is to bring an immigrant voice to immigrant integration, striving for a more vibrant, just, and welcoming democracy for all. We believe we are 42 million strong, and that includes 31 million green card holders, naturalized citizens who have been forced to exist at society margins for far too long. We are uniquely positioned to represent their voice in shaping immigrant integration policy. New Americans are the soul of our organization. They inspire, they implement, and they are the champions of our work. Immigrant integration is critical to our immigration policy. It is a long-term strategy to build a greater nation. Investing in immigrant integration, it's an intelligent and the right thing to do. It is time to set in motion a long overdue change in the moral tenor of our national dialogue on integration. This is our largest gathering. We expect almost 1,500 people by tomorrow. And this conference is happening a year after of the historic executive order on immigrant integration that President Obama announced last November. But it is also at a time in which the most fundamental values of our country as a nation of immigrants are under attack. So we stand together for a nation that welcomes all that share the American dream. As a community, thank you. As a community, we have stood bigotry, scapegoating, and racism. The National Partnership's work and this conference are a response to the politics of fear. At this 8th annual gathering, we will have 11 tracks from naturalization to workforce development and more. We will have 3 presidential forums, 5 plenaries. We're going to have the mayor of New York, the governor, senior senators from New York, other senior representatives from the federal government, and from the White House. Tomorrow, we are very proud to launch the New American Dreams platform, our federal policy advocacy agenda on immigrant integration. And we are very proud and thrilled to share with you that the 3 presidential candidates, we invited all of them, by the way, will be with us to share their vision and to respond to our vision. This conference, it's a unique opportunity to really examine the work ahead by bringing together the field of integration to strategize how to best implement our vision to make our country more inclusive to everyone, regardless of race, nationality, or religion. We feel the urgency of working harder now than ever before, intelligently for our immigrant and refugees communities to promote unity and opportunity for all. Like never before in history, the process has begun of recognizing integration as a critical part of our national character. Thank you so very much for joining us in this major effort. Thank you very much for being here with us. And at this time, it is my pleasure to introduce to you the Executive Director of the National Partnership for New Americans, from the great state of Illinois, my dear friend and colleague, the one and only Joshua Hoyt.
Thank you. Thank you. So we have a beautiful vision of a country that is inclusive and just and that we are going to work to achieve through our New American Dreams platform. But to achieve it, we're going to need two things. The first is allies, and the second is power. This conference, the National Immigrant Integration Conference, is about building allies within our movement and across movements to other movements as well. We have allies like the Center for Popular Democracy and City Development, with whom we have built Cities for Citizenship for 23 mayors across the country. We have allies like the United Food and Commercial Workers and Unite Here, with whom we are working to build the Union Citizen Action Network. We have allies like NCLR, MPI Welcoming, NALCAB, who have helped us to fill this NIC with great content. Now, just because I didn't mention you doesn't mean you're not important. I see my friend Jeff Bartow there. I see Ben Monterroso. I see Frank Sherry. We got a whole room of friends and allies, and we hope everybody takes this opportunity to actively work, network, meet each other, because a beautiful vision requires the building of power, and the National Partnership for New Americans understands that. We do this work with our sister organizations, FIRM, CCC, and now the Movement of Immigrants in America. We are working to build power for immigrant rights. And with new allies like the Latino Victory Foundation, we are going to work with the New American Democracy Campaign, lots of new Americans around here, to increase naturalization to 1 million people this year, and then to register those folks and turn them out to vote. And we hope we're all going to work on this together. So we have 3 presidential candidates. We're very happy about that, but they're all from one party, and it's not like the other ones weren't invited. So we have to do some work together so that both parties, every candidate, and the whole American people are no longer operating out of fear, but share the National Partnership for New Americans' vision of a welcoming, vibrant democracy for all. Welcome to the NIC.
Thank you.
Hello. My name is Theo Shiro. I'm with Make the Road New York, and how inspiring it is to see all of you here today as we begin one of the most important convenings of our immigrant rights movement, the National Immigrant Integration Conference. My organization has an office right here in Brooklyn, and it is so appropriate that we are all gathered here today in Brooklyn. Brooklyn, like our country and our city, has always been a place built by and moved forward by immigrants. By 1860, Brooklyn was already the 3rd largest city in the United States, and nearly half of its residents were foreign-born. By the 1880s, thousands of Eastern Europeans moved to call Brooklyn home, and in the 1930s, our brothers and sisters from Puerto Rico settled in the Brooklyn sections of Red Hook, downtown Brooklyn, and Greenpoint. Today, immigrants continue to make up the fabric of Brooklyn, coloring this borough with a vibrant and resilient culture, language, and of course, amazing food. Please go out there and try the food. Over the last several months, some folks have said some not so nice things about the immigrant community. Unfortunate as those comments have been, we will not let those very few dominate the debate, and this conference will highlight the opportunities that are created when immigrants are welcomed and embraced. New York City indeed has taken a lead in embracing our immigrant communities. Our speaker, Melissa Mark Viverito, and our mayor, Bill de Blasio, have passed landmark policies to create a municipal ID card for all New Yorkers, including undocumented immigrants. To stop collaboration between New York City jails and immigration enforcement, and together have invested millions in crucial legal and support services for immigrants. My organization, Make the Road New York, is proud to have been one of the NIC's executive committee members and to partner with our amazing leaders, the New York Immigration Coalition, the National Partner for New Americans, and the Massachusetts Immigrant and Refugee Advocacy Coalition. I was speaking to one of our members who was getting ready to come to this conference. I asked him what he wanted to get out of this conference. He said, "Quiero enseñarles a todos todo lo que hemos logrado en Nueva York, pero también quiero asegurarme que continuemos a trabajar. Tenemos mucho trabajo que hacer." He said, "I want to show everyone all we have built in New York, but I want to make sure we all continue to work. We have a lot of work to do." So, On behalf of the Executive Committee of the NIIC, welcome to Brooklyn, welcome to New York City, and welcome to the National Immigrant Integration Conference. De parte del Comité Ejecutivo del NIIC, bienvenidos a Brooklyn, bienvenidos a la ciudad de Nueva York y bienvenidos a la Conferencia Nacional de Integración de Inmigrantes. Muchas gracias.
Good afternoon. My name is Sarah Rakita. I'm the Managing Director of the New York Immigration Coalition, and I'm thrilled to once again welcome you to New York and to the National Immigrant Integration Conference. The NIIC is a statewide coalition of almost 200 organizations that work with immigrants. Our reach reflects the rich diversity of New York City and state. Our immigrant communities are 32% Latino, 26% Asian, 20% Caribbean. We aim to achieve a fairer and more just society that values the contributions of immigrants and extends opportunity to all. The NYC promotes the full civic participation of immigrants, fosters their leadership, and provides a unified voice and vehicle for collective action. I've spent the better part of the year planning this conference together with NPNA and the Executive Committee. And now that this day is finally here, I think it could not come at a better moment. This moment, when the world is facing a humanitarian challenge of astounding proportions, and yet many important segments of our nation have responded with hatred and fear instead of compassion and support. Last night, right across the street from this conference hotel, there was a vigil in solidarity with Syrian refugees. The vigil was sponsored by a number of Arab and Jewish organizations as well as local elected officials. And at the vigil, NYC board member Linda Sarsour, Executive Director of the Arab American Association of New York, who's with us today as well, so eloquently stated, there is no room for hate in Brooklyn. As we sit here in the shadow of the Statue of Liberty, I look forward to spending the next 3 days with you, staying true to this message. There's no room for hate in Brooklyn, there's no room for hate in New York, and there's no room for hate in this nation. We're very fortunate to be in a state with strong political leadership for New York's 4 million immigrants, many of whom you'll hear from in the next 3 days. As Theo said, Mayor Bill de Blasio, City Council Speaker Melissa Mark Viverito have pushed frontiers of immigrant rights and immigrant integration through innovative new efforts and programs. Governor Andrew Cuomo created the first ever Office of New Americans in the state, and leaders upstate like Stephanie Miner of Syracuse have helped create a more welcoming environment for the 1 million immigrants who live in New York but outside of New York City. We came here to learn from one another and to band together for a shared mission. Let's all remember the theme of this year's conference: New American Dreams, advancing opportunity, equality, and justice. This is a very diverse, impressive, and inspiring bunch of folks. We represent communities from Asia, from Africa, from Latin America, and beyond. Amongst us, we have grassroots activists, union leaders, policymakers, academics, service providers, government officials. We may focus on different aspects of immigrant integration, ranging from workers' rights to business and financial empowerment, from Black Lives Matter to arts and culture to adult literacy, but we share a common dream. As we launch this exciting 3-day program, I ask each of you to take a moment and think, what is your new American dream? On behalf of the NYC, I'm extremely proud to be a co-host of NIIC, and I look forward to helping you make that dream a reality. Thank you for coming, and have a great conference.
So I get to do something very special. I'm Roman Catholic. I know you had a vigil out here, and all of the faiths and all of the religious leaders of Brooklyn were together, but I get to bring up a champion from the home team, Bishop Nicholas Dimarzio. Bishop Dimarzio has been working on immigration issues since 1970. He is the bishop here of Brooklyn, New York. He not only is the bishop, but he's a doctor. He's got a PhD on this stuff, but he's going to give us a 5-minute invocation. And He's been the past chairman of the U.S. Conference of Bishops Committee on Migration, the founder of Clinic. This guy is a champion on immigrant issues for his entire life. It is an honor to welcome Bishop Nicholas Dimarzio of the Diocese of Brooklyn.
Thank you. I want to thank the organizers of this conference. You came to the right place. Brooklyn and Queens and the rest of New York are a place where immigrants have flourished and are well integrated. 37% of the population of Brooklyn are immigrants, and 48% of Queens are immigrants. This is where immigrants are integrated because they form the fabric of our society here. One problem, obviously, is that we cannot integrate immigrants who are not legal, who do not have status, who have not been able to do that. Just one tip, I think, in working with immigration for a long time, there's one easy way to legalize almost 3 million people, and that's to update the registry date. The date where people can become permanent residents long-term. When they had IRCA, they brought it up to 1972. We could bring it up to 1998. Almost 3.5 million people will be able to be legalized. These are people who are eligible for citizenship, had no bars. They're people well integrated into our society. These are the people who have integrated themselves by work, by buying businesses, by buying homes. Just remember that, just as kind of a tip. Just a little reflection on the issue of integration. It's so important that we see it not just in economic and political terms, but also in terms of belonging, interacting with the host society. These are the standards and the metrics of integration that we need to look for. First, integration must come, in a certain sense, by giving immigrants their privileged agency. Institutions must facilitate their integration. Secondly, they always integrate from a position of success and strength. They have to be affirmed. People will integrate naturally if only we give them the opportunity. Also, we need to create conditions that allow integration to happen. And that's your work, the work of all of the coalitions represented here today. And finally, culture is important to preserve. Integration doesn't mean losing the cultures of the people who come. They cannot lose their culture, their language, who they are, in an effort to be integrated into our country, because our country truly is a melting pot, a stew, a mosaic, whatever you want to say. Unfortunately, today, many people can't see it in that way. They want everyone to be the same. That's not integration. Today, as we come together, we have a lot of work to do. I really appreciate the efforts you've made, and also I just want to leave you with some words from Pope Francis, real champion for migrants. When he came to New York just a couple of months ago, he insisted on meeting with new immigrants. He affirmed them. He tried to tell us this in these words: immigrants and refugees help build a more just society, a more perfect democracy, a more united country, a more fraternal world. Yes, that's what immigrants do. They are the glue of society. They come with new ideas, new energy, and new faith. A faith of different kinds, but a faith that allows them to dream in our society. I pray that your conference will be successful and that your efforts will also be successful. Do not be discouraged. Things now don't look very good in our country. There's a misunderstanding. We need to change public opinion. Unfortunately, we don't have the stage that others have in creating division and divisiveness. But we can make a difference. Through your efforts, they can truly make this country great as it has been, because it has been built by immigrants and will continue to be contributed to by immigrants. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I will pray that the conference does bring about all that you dream and want to achieve. Thank you.
So now I have the distinct pleasure of welcoming our wonderful diamond level sponsors for NIIC 2015, City Community Development and Wallace Coulter Foundation. Let me say that this conference, it is not a stretch to say that this conference would not have happened without the support of City Community Development and Wallace Coulter Foundation. And it is with their support that I want to mention did come in early that allowed us to make what I think is going to be the biggest and best NIIC yet. We have more than 1,300 people who are coming to the conference. We have 11 tracks, we have dozens of sessions, and we have hundreds of presenters, and we have no fewer than 3 presidential candidates who will be here with us to share their views on immigrant integration and city community development and the Wallace Coulter Foundation's. Their investment in this has been huge in making sure that this conference will be the success that we believe it to be. So please join me in welcoming Bob Anibale of City Community Development and Sue Van of the Wallace Coulter Foundation. Please give them a round of applause for being the diamond level sponsors of the NIIC.
Bob. Well, thank you, Steve. On behalf of City and over 100 countries in the world where we too have been received for both in terms of bringing talent and receiving around the world, thank you. Thank you to the New York Immigration Coalition, the National Partnership for New Americans, Make the Road New York, and the Massachusetts Immigrant Refugee Coalition, but all of you that made this early dream to have such a success here in Brooklyn, where I too was born, a reality. I just have to start back and say it's so hard to follow up on the dance group, the bishop, and the senator, except to say, as someone who lived in the Middle East, I too was received always so well with the term some of you may know, ahlan wa sahlan, meaning welcome to my home, welcome to my family. So on behalf of City, we're honored to be here. We're especially happy of the number of businesses, the chambers of commerce, the public and private foundations, the universities, the unions, the range of society that are here and that are supporting the work you're doing today. And as the mayor, as the senator said, and the bishop, 37% of New Yorkers, as we sit here, are foreign born. That's equal to the population of Chicago and San Diego combined. So we're talking a big number. And just as he mentioned, up in Queens with 1.1 million immigrants, and one of our counties here in New York, one of our boroughs, speaking 138 different languages. It makes Queens the most diverse and perhaps the most economically vibrant part of our city, along with Brooklyn. And for anybody from Manhattan, and God knows Staten Island and the Bronx, if you're a New Yorker, you don't want to leave anybody out. Or if you're Citibank, you don't. So we're excited. We're excited that with almost 9 million permanent residents, and the first, as we speak about, who can become citizens, we really need to ensure that we remove those impediments. And then finally, we're very excited to be a part of something called Cities for Citizenship. Others will speak to that, but that's a coalition that was launched by the mayor here in New York, Mayors Garcetti in LA, Mayor Dimarzio, and Mayor Emanuel, began Cities for Citizenship, and City is one of the founding partners, the city with an I, us. And it is now over 20 mayors, and a bipartisan movement of saying that municipalities can play such a critical role in providing services and support to immigrant integration and citizenship. So we look forward to the next 2 days and I'm delighted to be amongst such over 1,000 delegates. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. So for those of you who don't know the Wallace Coulter Foundation, because this is the first time that we have supported this conference, you might say, who is it? Well, I guarantee that each and every one of you who have ever had a blood test probably had it on a Coulter counter, because Wallace Coulter invented, innovated, and created automated hematology, which means counting your blood. And by automating and standardizing it, he made it affordable and accessible to the world, which made healthcare the way it is today. Wallace Coulter was my benefactor. I was the executive vice president and CFO of Coulter Corporation, the world's #1 medical diagnostic company. So that's my background. And when he passed away, we formed the Wallace Coulter Foundation. I have gone to a couple of NIIC conferences and never really thought about supporting it. So why did I support it this year? I could not believe that there was so much anti-immigrant rhetoric. I could not believe that this is the America that I became successful in. I came in 1952, and I stayed at Ellis Island. So I'm very familiar. And my father and my mother were struggling immigrants. They didn't speak English. They didn't have 1 day of education. And now I'm the foundation that is supporting a diamond sponsor for this conference. So I do believe in the American dream. And I think if we all work together, we will be able to help others and everyone who's an immigrant to achieve the American dream. America itself was an innovation, and a time when all the countries of the world were monarchies or kingdoms or military dictatorship. America was formed by a group of founding fathers, immigrants from Europe, immigrants from the Caribbean, to decide that the country would be governed for the people, by the people, of the people. So definitely, America is a nation of immigrants. It was in the past, it is in the present, and it will be for the future. Thank you very much.